that the President of the United States, in his public appearance today, proved that he is mentally incapable and emotionally incapable of fulfilling his constitutional duties as President of the United States. In other words, there is no President of the United States as we knew it. There is no functioning intelligence, no functioning judgment mechanism within the mind of the current holder of the title, President of the United States. And that person is also the holder of the nuclear codes that could destroy the planet.
Donald Trump is absolutely seething right now because federal judge Mary Ann Keller just ordered the immediate unsealing of a mountain of evidence that his legal team has fought tooth and nail to keep hidden for years. This isn't just a standard document release.
Against the president's attempts to shield his financial records and tax documents from New York prosecutors.
The president must turn over his taxes to the grand jury in New York unless he can come up with the same kind of arguments that any other person would be able to raise as an objection in court.
We're talking about transcripts from private meetings revealing what Trump actually said, financial records that show where money has gone, and internal communications that allegedly include illegal directives he issued to his staff. All that information is now coming to light, but it gets worse. Instead of just slipping a written order to Trump's lawyers to file appeals, the judge read her whole ruling out loud in court on camera for everyone to hear. She laid out step by step why all of Trump's arguments for secrecy crumbled. She made it clear that the public has a right to know what's in these documents and dismissed claims about ongoing investigations being a problem. She also shot down any arguments about unfair prejudice and ordered everything unsealed without delaying a single moment. Trump's lawyers had to sit there and listen as the judge tore apart their every argument.
A federal judge says Trump signed legal documents containing evidence he knew to be false.
Well, significantly, Wolf, this is actually the second time the former president likely committed a crime. And what the judge has done here is he has said that 8 new documents from John Eastman must be revealed to the January 6th Select Committee.
This is a massive legal blow that completely exposes Trump's strategy of keeping information under wraps as a total failure. Now, all that evidence he wanted to bury is open to public scrutiny, being examined by investigators and prosecutors on the lookout for wrongdoing. Trump knows how dangerous this is for him legally, and it's not just him. Everyone in Washington is aware of it, too. The unsealing order includes a wealth of material Trump has fought to keep secret for years, such as transcripts from private meetings with his inner circle, financial records of hidden transactions, and internal communications like emails, texts, and memos, all of which are now being released to the public. So Judge Keller decided that the public's right to know takes precedence over Trump's desire to keep certain information under wraps.
President Trump is now encouraging House Republicans to vote for the release of the Epstein files. A vote in the House of Representatives could happen as early as Tuesday. The legislation is known as the Epstein Files Transparency Act and requires the government to release all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, the deceased.
Naturally, Trump isn't handling this well. He's been firing off angry posts on Truth Social, ranting about how it's a judicial witch hunt and going after Judge Keller personally. But let's set the record straight. This isn't a witch hunt. This is just a federal judge applying the principles of transparency. When Trump tried to argue for secrecy, the judge dismissed those arguments as weak and insisted that the public deserves to know what's really going on with their leaders. Judge Keller looked at the evidence Trump wanted to keep hidden and declared that the American people have a right to see it. It's really important to share this information with others. Every time Trump lashes out at Judge Keller for pushing for transparency, it seems to confirm that he's got something damaging to hide. He's sort of trapped in a cycle, making himself appear more guilty and accelerating his legal troubles as we speak. Now, let's talk about why this ruling is such a big deal for Trump. Instead of just issuing a written order that would be read quietly by his team in their offices, Judge Keller opted to read it aloud in open court. That decision turned into a powerful moment that was captured and spread far and wide. It ensured that everyone understood just how badly Trump's arguments for secrecy fell flat. Think about what that means. If you've lost an argument so thoroughly that the judge has to announce your defeat for everyone to hear, that's a complete loss. This public reading sent a clear message throughout the legal community. Trump's tactics to conceal won't work anymore. It shows that courts are putting transparency first and that the public's interest outweighs any personal desire to keep evidence hidden. If a federal judge is willing to publicly deny Trump's claims for secrecy, you can bet that other judges are going to feel emboldened to do the same. And that's exactly what's happening now. With a pattern emerging in multiple cases, judges are pushing back on Trump's attempts to keep evidence sealed, insisting on disclosure because they see what Judge Keller saw, that Trump's arguments are mostly about protecting himself from accountability rather than any legitimate purpose. It's worth noting what the unsealed documents are supposed to connect to, and they're tied to several scandals that paint a much worse picture for Trump. The first of these connects to possible illegal directives. So, let's break down what's been going on. First off, there are these communications that supposedly show Trump telling his staff to take actions that are totally illegal. When you think about it, that's not just a disagreement over policy. It could actually point to a criminal conspiracy if everything checks out. Then there's the connection to January 6th. Documents reportedly highlight efforts to manage the fallout from the Capitol attack, including what Trump knew about it, what actions he took, and how his team attempted to cover up his involvement. Next up is the financial misconduct angle. There are records that indicate payments and transactions that might be against the law, money going where it really shouldn't. This could point to corruption or some serious self-dealing. We also can't forget about obstruction of justice. Allegedly, there are communications that reveal Trump and his associates discussing ways to conceal evidence, coordinate their stories, and mislead investigators. When you put all these pieces together, it paints a picture of someone who repeatedly broke the law, used their power for personal gain, and then tried to sweep it all under the rug. Now, on to the timeline for unsealing all this. The court has decided to release everything immediately, which doesn't give Trump any time to play damage control. Usually, court documents might get unsealed in stages over time, allowing for some appeals and delays. But Judge Keller ordered everything to be public all at once. No emergency appeals, no running to friendly judges, just a lot of evidence hitting the public at the same time. It's pretty unprecedented to see a sitting president suddenly have evidence released that they fought hard to keep hidden. What's even more interesting is that this public reading creates a permanent record captured on camera. The judge's explanations of why Trump's arguments didn't hold up will go down in history, shaping how this presidency is remembered. There's also the potential impact on future cases. Other judges can refer to this ruling in other situations where Trump tries to invoke secrecy. It sets a pattern indicating that he can't evade accountability anymore. Finally, let's look closely at what evidence was unsealed. The transcripts from private meetings reveal what Trump said when he thought no one was eavesdropping. Those are the moments where people tend to drop the act and speak their minds. Allegedly, these transcripts contradict what Trump has said publicly, showing that he was aware his actions were wrong and that he was conscious of the potential for criminal behavior. It's hard to deny something when there's a transcript proving you said it. You can't just rewrite history when your own words are laid out clearly. It's pretty remarkable how financial records provide clear evidence of where money actually went, and it's not aligned with what Trump says or what his lawyers argue. We're looking at real transactions here that allegedly highlight illegal payments. There's talk of money laundering, corruption, and self-dealing. Sure, you can try to spin the words, but you can't argue with bank records displaying money moving to places it definitely shouldn't be. The internal communications reveal decision-making as it unfolded, who was in the loop, who gave orders, and who raised legal concerns. These communications supposedly demonstrate that Trump directed illegal actions, which points to his understanding of wrongdoing. That's laying down criminal intent right there, all documented in his own emails and texts. If these alleged illegal directives are genuine, they show Trump ordering his team to break the law, which is conspiracy in the making. Each directive could stand as a separate charge, and anyone who followed those orders could potentially testify against him. The number of possible crimes just stacks up with every document that shows Trump giving unlawful instructions. Keeping up with these developments is crucial because this is direct evidence of criminal behavior, not just circumstantial or inferred. Trump's own words are said to show him ordering these crimes. The materials related to January 6th are especially troubling. Documents supposedly indicate that Trump was aware of the attack, understood the security failures, and chose to do nothing to prevent the violence, then tried to cover up his involvement afterward. That is not just neglect of duty, it's obstruction. We're talking about multiple crimes arising from the same incident. There are communications showing how Trump and his team coordinated, discussing how to manage the narrative, whether to destroy evidence, and what to tell investigators. That's a record of consciousness of guilt, all documented in real time as these events transpired. Now, let's break down why this has serious legal implications for Trump's other ongoing cases. When evidence is unsealed, it can be used in all sorts of situations. Criminal prosecutions can refer to these documents. Civil lawsuits can mention them, and congressional inquiries can subpoena testimony related to them. Everything adds up. One piece of evidence being uncovered can create a chain reaction across all the legal battles Trump is facing. Prosecutors in different jurisdictions now have access to evidence they didn't have before. Each discovery is relevant to their cases, with financial records indicating potential crimes in New York and communications pointing towards obstruction for federal cases. And don't forget about what transpired on January 6th. The congressional investigations are really digging into things, and the transcripts are putting Trump in a tight spot he can't wiggle out of. If he ends up testifying anywhere, he'll have to explain what he said behind closed doors, and that means he'll have to sort out any contradictions. Any little inconsistency could land him in hot water for perjury. These documents are like traps he just can't escape. It's worth sharing this because these financial records are opening up all sorts of roads for prosecutors. It all starts with one questionable transaction. From there, they can trace the money, uncover more transactions, and build a case that clearly shows systematic corruption. One record can lead to a whole heap of others. Plus, the communications they dug up can prove that Trump knew what he was doing was probably illegal. He had conversations about it with his associates, but just went ahead anyway. That's exactly the kind of stuff prosecutors need for a criminal case. Apparently, some cabinet officials are looking over the unsealed materials. There are whispers of concern about what these documents reveal regarding Trump's actions and whether he's fit to continue in office. It's pretty wild to think that people so close to him are questioning his capability, and it shows just how damaging this evidence really is. Then there's Trump's frantic response, which boils down to some very straightforward political calculations. He knows these documents shatter his defenses, directly contradict his public statements, and outline evidence for several possible crimes. He realizes the seriousness of what's at stake. If this information gets fully analyzed, the prosecutors will definitely use it. Congress will be all over it, and his opponents will turn it into political ammunition. So Trump is making a calculated choice. He's attacking the judge and the entire process, trying to undermine the legitimacy of the unsealing by labeling it a witch hunt. This way, he can tell his supporters later that the evidence doesn't really count because it was released in a shady manner. Honestly, it's not very effective because the documents are out there. But he's sticking with this approach, and once he begins to publicly trash judges, things just escalate. This creates even more legal headaches for him, and adds to a growing pile of evidence that points to obstruction and witness intimidation. We're seeing that play out right now, with Trump going on the attack and only making things worse for himself. It's a situation that gets messier by the minute, and as he faces the most serious exposure of evidence since these investigations kicked off, the documents he fought tooth and nail to keep hidden are now coming to light. This whole situation is pretty serious and can't just be brushed off. We're not talking about a few emails taken out of context. This is a mountain of evidence. We have cash transactions, transcripts, financial records, and all sorts of communications. When that much information gets released to the public, it really shakes things up. It changes how prosecutors think about charges, how judges interpret Trump's arguments, how the public views his guilt, and even how witnesses decide whether they want to cooperate. Trump can shout witch hunt all he wants, but none of that changes the fact that a federal judge ordered this evidence to be unsealed. The judge found Trump's reasons for keeping things secret pretty weak and ruled that transparency wins. So here's the bottom line. Trump is absolutely furious about this decision. Judge Keller instructed that a huge amount of evidence, including transcripts, private meetings, financial records, and internal communications alleged to show illegal orders, be released immediately. All the stuff he thought he had buried for years. Instead of sneaking in a quiet written order, the judge read the entire ruling aloud in open court on camera, explaining exactly why every one of Trump's secrecy claims failed. He made it clear that the public has a right to know. He pushed back against claims of ongoing investigations and said that there couldn't be any unfair prejudice. Everything was unsealed right then and there, no waiting around. Trump's lawyers had to just sit there and listen while the judge systematically dismantled every argument they made. This was a catastrophic defeat that exposed their concealment strategy as an utter failure. Now that the evidence is public record, investigators and prosecutors can take a good look at it. Meanwhile, Trump is losing his mind, throwing furious rants on Truth Social and attacking Judge Keller personally. But this isn't a witch hunt. It's a federal judge doing what judges should do, applying the principles of transparency. The judge looked at Trump's claims and found them lacking, ordering this disclosure because the public deserves to know. Every attack from Trump only highlights his attempts to hide the truth, creating a self-reinforcing cycle that makes him look more guilty as time goes on. Reading that ruling aloud made it clear that there's no way to escape this. The judge could have issued a written order, but instead he chose to announce it publicly in the courtroom, making it a moment that everyone noticed and understood why those arguments fell flat. It was a complete loss for Trump, as the judge's rejection ensured maximum awareness of this defeat. The message has been sent loud and clear to the legal community. Concealment tactics won't work. The courts are prioritizing transparency and the public's right to know trumps any attempts at hiding the truth. It seems like there's a pretty significant pattern emerging, with multiple cases being rejected when attempting to keep things sealed and a clear order for disclosure coming down. The arguments presented point to a self-serving interest, suggesting this is more about protecting accountability than any legitimate reason. Unsealed documents are linking together a series of troubling scandals where illegal directives are in play. Allegedly, Trump issued orders to his subordinates to engage in unlawful actions, which, if proven true, could amount to a criminal conspiracy dating back to January 6th. There are accusations of efforts to manage the fallout from the Capitol attack, as well as attempts to cover up financial misconduct. Records supposedly show payments and transactions that run afoul of the law, which certainly raises eyebrows when you consider money being funneled to the wrong places, hinting at corruption and obstruction. Communications are said to reveal discussions centered around hiding evidence and coordinating stories to mislead investigators. They paint a picture where time and again the president broke the law to benefit personally. And despite these efforts to cover things up, the immediate unsealing of these records leaves no room for damage control. It's quite unusual for courts to unseal documents so quickly. Typically, it's a slow process with delays and appeals that can stretch out for months. But this time, Keller ordered everything to be made public right away. No emergency appeals, no friendly judges, just a flood of evidence all at once. It's quite a striking moment in American history. For a sitting president, having evidence that's been fought over for years released in such a rush is unprecedented. The public gets to read about it all, with everything now part of a permanent record. The courtroom captured on camera provides a snapshot of the judge explaining why their efforts to keep things secret failed. This creates a historical record of how this presidency will be remembered, setting a precedent for future cases and judges. As this unfolds, it's becoming clear that the same arguments can't be hidden anymore. The transcripts reveal what was truly said and thought in those private meetings where people drop their guard and reveal their true opinions and plans, often contradicting public statements. These documents point to conscious wrongdoing and potential crimes, making any claims of "I didn't say that" hard to uphold when the transcripts show otherwise. We're talking objective evidence here, with financial records laying out exactly where the money went, not just claims or arguments. The data allegedly shows payments that violate laws, pointing toward money laundering and corruption, not just an issue of spinning words. The bank's records can demonstrate money being funneled to the wrong places, along with internal communications that capture Decision M in real time. It raises questions about who knew what when they were aware, who gave orders, and who raised concerns about legality. If these allegations hold water, the emails and texts will document criminal intent, showing that there were direct orders for subordinates to break the law, spawning a conspiracy with each directive serving as a separate charge. As the volume of accusations multiplies, it all paints a troubling picture of what allegedly took place. So, there's a lot going on here, and it's honestly hard to believe how things are unfolding. We've got documents surfacing that show direct evidence of criminal behavior, not just circumstantial stuff or something we're interpreting. It's Trump's own words at play where he's allegedly ordering crimes related to January 6th. Those materials are particularly damaging because they point to a new attack happening alongside clear security failures that went unrest during the violence. Then there's the whole cover-up attempt afterward, which involves dereliction of duty and obstruction. Multiple crimes stemming from the same incident. They're showing how there was some coordination among his associates discussing how to shape the narrative, including whether to destroy evidence. It all seems like a classic case of consciousness of guilt. The obstruction is actually documented in real time, and that really opens up significant legal implications for ongoing cases. With the unsealed evidence being cited across the board, it's being used in criminal prosecutions, civil lawsuits, and congressional investigations. Everything is stacking up, and one unsealing seems to lead to a host of other problems. He's juggling legal battles in multiple jurisdictions while pushing back against prosecutors who have access to evidence they didn't have before. Each new finding feeds into the relevant cases, and there are these financial undercurrents and potential criminal activities in New York, plus communications that point to obstruction regarding that January 6th incident. There's also the issue of congressional transcripts which lock in positions, making it impossible for anyone involved to reconcile inconsistencies without raising the risk of perjury. The potential traps here seem unavoidable, especially as financial records start opening up new investigative avenues for prosecutors. They might follow suspicious transactions, digging deeper to spot patterns of systematic corruption, and each lead maps out communications that reveal knowledge and intent. It shows that these discussions with associates were potentially illegal, yet they went ahead anyway. Exactly what prosecutors are looking for to prove charges. Now, some cabinet officials have reportedly been reviewing these materials, expressing concern about what they show in terms of conduct. The administration's reactions are extraordinary, showing just how tense things are, with the closest ones questioning fitness. The testimony from witnesses dives into the damaging unsealed evidence, leading to furious political calculations and a brutal look at how the documents destroy many defenses and contradict public statements, all while providing evidence of multiple potential crimes. This isn't something that's going unnoticed. He fully understands the seriousness of what's unfolded and knows that prosecutors are using this against him while Congress continues to investigate and opponents are ready to weaponize the information. It's a calculated decision on his part to launch attacks, claiming the judge and the process are being delegitimized. He even labels this as a witch hunt, telling his supporters that evidence doesn't matter and that it's all been released improperly. But regardless of how he spins it, these documents are out there, and the situation just escalates as he starts attacking judges publicly, creating even more legal headaches and allegations of witness intimidation. It's pretty wild to see someone like him melting down, right? The way he lashes out at everyone only makes matters worse for himself.